This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has filed 26 charges of fraud against former central bank governor Godwin Emefiele. The case was filed before the Special Offences Court in Lagos. The charges against Mr. Emefiele range from abuse of office by giving undue advantage to people within his circle to receiving millions in US dollars from companies and individuals. He's also accused of allocating forex without a bid. In total, Mr. Emefiele is said to have allocated a cumulative sum of 4.5 billion US dollars and 2.8 billion pounds. This is during his time as CBN governor. For a better understanding of the charges against the former CBN governor, we're joined by Bulus Atson, who's a legal practitioner and a one-time chairman of the Nigeria Bar Association Abuja chapter. Good morning and welcome, Mr. Atson.
For having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Let's start off with this 26 count charge. If you could give us kind of like a summary idea of all the charges brought against him.
Summary of all the charges?
A summary look. What exactly does it mean? Because if we go through each of them, it's one case of allocating XYZ amount of money to a certain person or receiving XYZ amount of money from another person. Across the 26 charges, this is what it seems to look like.
Yes, the 26 count charges bordered on misappropriation of public resources and mismanagement, so to say, and conferring undue advantage on his friends and cronies within the system. Each of the count represents a mismanagement of a particular fund or the other. So, for example, one of the borders on allocation of ethics without following due process law as set down, law and regulation. So, those are basically the issues there.
Mr. Atson, with these latest charges, do you get the sense that the EFCC is heading towards a conclusion of the charges against Mr. Emefiele, or is there a sense that there might be more to discover?
There might be more to discover. You will recall that he was initially charged as the FCT High Court on various counts of charges. But then, after the investigation of the special investigator, that is Jim Obaze, appointed by the president, new facts emerged necessitated new charges to be preferred against him. And that was why the EFCC did that. A couple of days ago, a friend of mine was concerned about the charges in Lagos in view of the fact that other charges have been filed against him in FCC. And I made him to understand that, yes, that can be done. A reason being that where any element of the offense, the new offenses he is being charged, was carried out or consummated in Lagos, the Lagos court could have jurisdiction over such charges. So, the charges in Lagos are appropriate, and in the course of time, if new facts emerge that necessitate further charges to be filed, preferred against it, the EFCC could still do that, or it could end the charges in any of the cases in Abuja or Lagos, include those additional facts as they emerge.
If you could expand a bit more on the Lagos case, you rightly said in Abuja it's before the Federal High Court there, and here in Lagos it's a Special Offences Court. Can you speak to us on the significance of this?
No, for the FCT is the FCT High Court, not the Federal High Court.
So what is the significance? Why isn't this before a federal high court? And I'm talking now about the Lagos State case. It's before a special offences court. If you can explain to us what that court is and whether there is some sort of significant difference.
Not materially so. Not materially so. Any of the offences, I mean, if the EFCC chose, it could have filed the second charges in either the FCT High Court or the Federal High Court. Either of them could assume jurisdiction on the matter. What matters is where the offence is committed, or where any of the element of the offences is consummated. So there's really no. I mean, the fact that it is a special offence court does not confer any specialty on the case, but I believe the court is most likely going to have the time to deal with the case speedily.
So just as we wrap up, Mr. Atson, can you speak to us on what the highest, because these charges essentially border on fraud and abuse of office. What is the most punishment that can be given by the court if Mr. Emefiele is found guilty?
Well, each of those offences carry various terms or sentences. Some are 15 years, some 14 years, some 7 years, differently like that. And in most cases, at the end of the day, each of those, if he is sentenced, if he's convicted and sentenced, in most cases, the court order that the sentences should run concurrently. So in such an instance, it could be the highest of 14 years or 15 years, as the case may be. And then in some cases, you cannot tell for certain how the entire case could go, as he has the option of applying for a plea bargain. In the case of a plea bargain, the EFCC could reconsider and say, okay, this offense is 15 years, but since you have decided to own up, you're remorseful, we could make it 7 years in exchange for some certain acts or actions by Emefiele, which may include refunding some of these funds to the federal government account. So yes, you cannot tell for certain how the case would go until we get to the end of the route.
I mean, at this point, that's exactly what will happen to see the conclusion of both cases, the one in Lagos and the one in the FCT. Mr. Atson, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts on the conversation. Our guest, Bulus Atson, is a legal practitioner and a one-time chairman of the Nigeria Bar Association Abuja chapter, speaking to us on fresh 26-count charges brought against former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. This case is facing before the Special Offences Court here in Lagos, and the charges range from abuse of office by giving undue advantage to certain people in his circle to receiving millions in US dollars from companies and individuals alike.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.